Alright, boys and girls, yes, Dream Theater are reborn. Since God left the band a few years ago, give me a second. Green in the light of approval, I guess. Dream Theater are now the band that they used to be and more. They have completely redeemed themselves. Obviously, they can never get away with the astonishing, which was 2 hours of pure comedy. They can always come back, and that's, I think, what they did with their newest album. If you guys don't know, they released their new album Friday or whatever, go check it out. Dream Theater are the biggest prog band of all time, I'd say, and they're doing very well for themselves. This album, a lot of people thought was going to be a fucking train wreck. I thought so too, honestly. As I said in my other review, I thought this album might just be decent. What I think what happened with this album was they started writing it since 2016 because they realized that The Astonishing was just absolutely terrible. They were like, yeah, we need to go fucking heavy, right? But that's not all that this album is. There's some points where you're like, yeah, they're trying too hard. But also, they kind of return to that other Dream Theater that everyone liked, you know, that Dream Theater that we lost in Black Clouds and Silver Linings, that Dream Theater that made fucking one of the greatest albums of all time in 3 weeks. I think Dream Theater are finally coming back, you know, they've always been really great. Since Mike Portnoy left the band and the whole, like, the pressure of the fans on them to actually write good music and stuff, I think that wasn't good on them before, but now they've kind of learned to just take their minds off of the pressure and just be themselves, okay? And I think that worked. The tracks, they are all great. I'd say easily up to par with Metropolis Part 2. They are, I mean, I'm personally not a big fan of Metropolis Part 2, but I can understand that musically that album is really great. But I do believe that this album is better in the sense that it is heavier, and also the heaviness works. It's not like they're trying too hard to be heavy. I do think that this album has more character. You know, they have a lot more stuff. They finally let Mangini shine through, because before he just felt kind of like a robot, like a backing track behind the rest, you know, doing his crazy ass fills and whatever. But now he actually feels like a member of the band due to the mixing, due to, I mean, I'm guessing they have a better relationship now than they did in The Astonishing and in their self-titled before in 2014, right? I do have a bone to pick here, and I'll get that out of the way real quick. Mr. John Petrucci.
Just kill yourself.
Why did you write the same solo for every single song? I do think that the guitar solos are, for a Dream Theater standard, kind of weak. See, it's just John Petrucci, he's going to fucking shred the guitar into pieces. Like, that's obvious, but also I do feel like there's only like one or two solos that I could pick out English. You know, try and play them, try and actually feel them, but the rest just feel like Bree said, hey, throw a solo in there, and he was like 2 minutes later, like,
just kill yourself.
And let's be honest, John Petrucci's arguably best solo was written, I think, in like 5 hours. Now, you may think it surely cannot all be good, and that's where Labrie comes in. Mr. Labrie has a voice that people tend to hate or people tend to love. It's either of those. I personally really like his voice, but also I think he shines too much in this album. They give him too much space, and so they forget to be a band at times. They're just kind of like the backing track for James Labrie to sound amazingly, as he always does. But we know that they're great musicians. The albums of the year have to feel like it's a whole effort. Even though it does feel like a whole effort, actually Mike Mangini has his first writing credits in there. They could have done so much more with what they have. I mean, the riffs are good, heavy, and they feel strong, and it feels like they're finally believing in themselves again. The keyboards, at times they fall off. The vocals, again, shine through too much, and also the mixing at times is not very good. I'm not here to say that it's terrible. It's not like super lo-fi or it doesn't sound like super compressed. It is not necessarily the best mixing I've listened to. They have better mixing in their discography. Probably Octavarium is one of their best mixed albums. I mean, go listen to Panic Attack. That song, you can hear everything where it needs to be. And that's overall my take on this album. I think it is a complete and total rebirth. of the band. They are going to continue to make insanely sick stuff. Do I have a problem with Mike Mangini? No, I don't. I honestly never really had one, other than I do think Mike Portnoy has more character. Mike Mangini is a great drummer. He's finally starting to shine through in the band, and he finally feels like a musician and not just like a backing track or a robot. Obviously, you can't really go wrong with John Myung's bass playing, easily one of the best bassists of all time. You also can't go wrong with having shorter tracks. This might be counterintuitive because why would I want shorter songs from them instead of like really big epics and stuff? Well, that's simply because if they try to write shorter songs, then they're obviously going to give it their all. It's just going to be pretty great. I have literally no complaints about the album in itself. It's just a few things here and there that could have been better to some extent, but also like it's great. I mean, it's good. So
just kill yourself.
If you guys haven't checked this album out, I would really recommend that you do. I recommend that you check out all of Dream Theater. They are fucking gods and they are amazing, and John Petrucci is easily one of my favorite guitarists of all time. I do recommend that you listen at least to Black Clouds and Silver Linings before you listen to this. The attitude in both of those albums is like almost as if they were trying to prove themselves to some extent. If you can get your hands on the deluxe version, I do recommend that because Viper King, which is the bonus track, is really cool. It's actually worthy of the title of bonus track. The lyrics are great. They're not as great as Lil Pump's. They convey some really sweet and not sweet, like they convey some strong emotions, and I mean that's what lyrics are for essentially. So if your lyrics convey emotion, your band conveys emotion. If your whole band feels like a band, if your whole album feels like it was written by a band, that's when you have a good album. Now, do I think this is among Dream Theater's best albums? Yes, I do. I honestly do. There are other albums that I think are worse than this simply because shorter songs and more focus serves them very well. Also the fact that it's not that long in comparison to their last album, which was like 2 hours and 15 minutes or some shit. Like, finally, why am I like this? Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Go listen to the album, tell me what you think. I will see you guys later. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. See you guys in the next one. Stay metal.